23. On the 4th and the 5th of the same month, more than 60,000 people, security personnel were sent in. And recently they have done it again. And there are notorious laws like Armed Forces Special Power Act, which give extraordinary power to the security personnel. Despite the presence of the 70,000 troops, new troops, besides the all deployed soldiers in such a tiny state, how is that 60,000 people have lost their homes? How is that the death toll continue to rise even today? We need to ask this. Instead, the Prime Ministers and his puppet regime in Manipur continue to say that, the peace is returning in the state, violence has gone down. These are part of his speeches on the floor of the House. If the toll the violence has gone down, how come the death toll continue to rise even today? When he first says that peace has returned, according to my own assessment that I have done with my team, when he said that the first time, there were 30,000 roughly who were homeless. And today is 60,000 plus. And death toll was below 100, now it becomes 258. This doesn't count, it doesn't include those persons who are missing. Missing person में security का garrison से भी है. That's what I said. So who's going to be secure if you are not secure even within the campus of the largest military headquarters in Manipur? How safe are we? Now who's supposed to answer these questions? I said that is why on this platform I said don't blame a particular community. Blame their elites and politics. And most importantly, let's understand the meaning of government. Why do we have government? It is the responsibility of the government. Look at the Indian Constitution, Article 12. All your fundamental rights, that chapter begins with Article 12, trying to remind you what is state. And all the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution is an obligation on the state to protect and preserve and ensure those rights. इसीलिए उस fundamental rights का chapter का पहला article 12 में state का meaning को define किया गया उसमें. And now that state has completely absorbed of its responsibility. Not only that, it hurts me because as a student of social science, people say what was tribalism in Africa, communalism was in India. They essentialize the conflict between Hindus and Muslims, just as the conflict in Africa. As if those conflicts are a natural, essentialized part of those societies. Strange as it may seem, Indian scholars, one of the leading scholars of the post-colonial theory, they have been questioning such things, and they have reminded us that communalism in India is part of the process of the colonial state itself. There's nothing essential about that. और फिर बोलता है हमारा Prime Minister, as if this Kuki-Meitei conflict is a natural, essentialized part of that society. The fact is, it is a product of Indian state. Began with the colonial state during British, the way they classify people, the kind of laws they have injected, the consciousness and practices created, which the Indian state continued. Many of these communities were armed by the security personnel and forces and agencies to fight another group. Everybody knows this. If you read any expert on Northeast who wrote books, I can name one of them. Suvir Vomik, one of the prominent journalists. So he said that many of these groups, armed groups, were established to fight the Nagas and the Meitei armed groups. And you said this is an essentialized conflict. And you talk about the connection between the politician and the armed groups. How many of these Kuki MLAs have connection? Husband, wife is a member of the assembly, husband is the chairman of the armed group. how come that people were allowed to roam around with arms if it is not an implicit encouragement by the Indian state, whether it was in Imphal or outside? Now you need to ask these questions. So the problem in Manipur is not merely of a community crisis. The Indian state under the Modi-Saha duo is implicated in this violence, and that's why they are not stopping it. That we must continue said. जब तक मैं इस house का member बन के रहूँगा, I'm not going to keep quiet. I'll keep on raising these issues. And that is one of the way to do it is here. We here in Delhi, you shout in Imphal, nobody bothers. So the fact is that you must be here and speaking, and that's why we organize this. And even if a few members comes here, thank you for your support, and thank all my party members and colleagues from the parliament who have came in such a short notice. I have only informed them yesterday about this, and I'm very thankful to Shashiji also for coming in. And I'm also expecting one of my old friend Yogendra Yadav. He is also on the way, and hopefully he will join us and also reflect on our situation. We need support. Please remember, it's not a Manipur's problem. This is an Indian state problem. When the constitutional system collapses, this speaks on this country. Please do not forget that. As long as you think this has something to do with a distant place called Manipur, you are already pushing, then people will begin all over again to ask this question, what is the place of Manipur in the Indian Union? And the remaining, these youths of Manipur and the Northeast in general will begin to sense what is our place even today in this country, depending on how we behave and how we react, respond to this crisis. And a better sense should prevail among the Indian elites, particularly the BJP leaders. And they are doing more harm to this country than to Manipur through this violence. Thank you.